Hey champs out there, this is Adyashere. Y'all already know I'm here today to give y'all some information, bringing the real with the love. Y'all know it's Bad Table Manners every week here with me with Unmutingme transformational coaching. So here's one thing I thought about today. It was in the Facebook group that a lot of people are dealing with stress and anxiety. So I want to talk about what's causing the stress, what's causing that anxiety. Stay tuned. That I have gone through that has helped me and has also helped others, and I want to make sure that we are all supporting each other. And if it was wrong, they find another way to justify why they did it, and they will do it in a way to manipulate you to side with them. Today, what I need you to do is focus on how I can validate my own damn self without me feeling like I need to find someone else to do that validation for me. That's what, yes, champion. When I say love yourself again, you may have never even explored it.
It's very, very, very powerful. Is that there is no love without forgiveness, and there is no forgiveness without love. You need to understand specifically.
Hey champs out there, I'm back. This is your girl Adyashere. Y'all know I'm with Unmutingme transformational coaching and consulting. So I'm gonna get right into it, and we're gonna talk about understanding your stress, understanding the anxiety that you may be having or you may have had this week, or you may be suffering with this stuff. This is some heavy stuff that we deal with all the time out there, champion. I want to help you out and give you some ways on how to understand it and what you can do. So I want to make sure that I'm making myself clear. This is a lot of this stuff is around the different programs that I've launched. If you have not signed up, first and foremost, with that level up to communication, level up your communication to have better relationships, please sign up for that. It is amazing. It is a game changer. It's changing so many relationships. It's alleviating so much stress. And then y'all already know I'm launching a fear and shame power session, which is also going to be a course, and that's going to be coming soon. And if you haven't already, scroll down and look at the bottom in the description. It's going to give you all the information about the Unmutingme Academy and what those programs are. And the stuff that I bring to the table is stuff that is so needed. And I get these questions all the time. So I like to address it as a whole, right? I like to address it as a whole and just talk about these things, understanding what's causing the stress and anxiety. So here's one thing that I looked at, and I right before I filmed, I was like, that's some good stuff. I want to make sure I record that, and I don't want to lose my thought. So here's a couple things that I wanted to address with y'all. Is that I realized what causes stress and anxiety is that when certain needs aren't being met, we tend to those things tend to trigger our emotions quite often, such as love. If we don't feel like we have love, that triggers an emotion. Another one is the understanding and the miscommunication. That's why it's so important, if you just look at and just reach out to me, that level up communication class is so powerful. It helps with a lot of this stuff. And a lot of champions have already taken that class, and just the feedback that I'm getting is just amazing. It's just what the transformation that these champions are doing, and just awesome stuff. It's just a real blessing. And just I wanted to just make sure I put that out there, is that I want everybody. My goal is that you all go through this program so you can have a transformational result, just like everybody else that is a part of our community. And if you're on Facebook, make sure that you request to join the Being a Champion group with Adyashere, because we go in on this information heavily, and you get to ask me questions directly and personally. So those are some of the things I realized, and there's a few more. You know, if you do not receive love, that triggers an emotion. When one feels like they're being misunderstood, if one feels like they're being misunderstood, and that leads to the miscommunication, that also triggers the emotion of the, emotions are the stress and all the stuff that we have, fear, anger, pain, that causes this anxiety, that causes this stress. And you guys know that when I talk about fear, pain, and in that class I do talk about emotions a lot of emotions that trigger, right? That triggers that anxiety, that triggers that stress. If we don't receive that love and we don't feel like we're being understood due to miscommunication, that triggers that emotion that causes the stress and the anxiety. Respect. if we feel like we are being disrespected, or we feel like we are not being respected, right? Those things trigger an emotion. So it's always that lack. Notice it's something that we're not getting, or feel like something is being taken away from us, is what's causing the stress and what causes that anxiety. And also our peace. If our peace is also compromised, that could put a damper on what triggers our emotion as well. That peacefulness stuff, if you have been in a situation to where you have been, put yourself in a space to where it's just calm, right? So someone is, if it's calm, right, and then someone comes in and interrupts that, that also triggers an emotion that causes the stress and anxiety. So peacefulness is also something that if we lack that type of peace, or we feel like our peace is being compromised, anything that is being compromised, we feel like that could be a threat that can cause that stress and anxiety. And then also control. Control is one, is that if I feel like I don't have control of something, or I feel like I'm losing control, which is the same thing, we tend to cause our emotional triggers as well. So just some things I wanted to put up there. And if y'all know, I'm going to go ahead and put that right here for you guys to take a look at it, write it down, to see if some of those things, if I'm noticing that some of those things are being taken away from me, or some of those things may be compromised, and I may need to figure out what those triggers are. Now let's jump ahead a little bit. And I said jump ahead. So understanding what's causing that stress and anxiety. Number one, what we must do is we must accept responsibility. We must accept responsibility, meaning that we can't be the victim all the time. If someone does something to us, I get it. They do, some things are unavoidable, some things are beyond our control, but we still must take responsibility for our actions, and that comes with choice. I always say to all champions that if you feel like if you had a choice at the very end, you ought to know that you also had a choice at the beginning as well. There's never a time to where you don't have a choice, no matter what that situation is. Now it's up to you and what choice you're going to make, but you do have a choice. Some people feel like, I only had a choice at the very end. If I'm in a relationship with someone and that person does all these different things towards me, and then I realize that it's my choice at the very end to continue this relationship with someone. Well, also, champion, we also had a choice at the very beginning too. We sometimes feel like we had a choice at the end, but not at the beginning. We all have a choice throughout the whole process. We just don't recognize at the very beginning, and sometimes in the middle, that we had a choice. So always remember to take full responsibility. So that means that you need to, right? We need to, I guess I would say it like that. We need to not be a victim and know that we do have a choice. So accepting responsibility comes with knowing that we do have a choice in what we can and cannot tolerate. Okay? And then number two, listen to your body. Please listen to your body. What I mean by listening to your body is that if you can listen to your body, you can start to identify the different triggers that are happening, the different things that are taking place in your body. If you know that your muscles are tension up, getting tightened, if you know that you have an adrenaline that's rushing, if you know that you are sweating a little bit more, that's a sign, right? That's a sign that something is triggering my anxiety way higher than what it should. Listen to your body. Don't keep putting yourself and forcing yourself to do something. Take a step back, listen to your body, and catch your breath. And then realize, is it worth it for me to continue? Is it worth it for me to continue? Please listen to your body. Here's the reason why I say listen to your body. If you listen to your body, you can identify the different triggers. And if you can identify the different triggers, then you can change your result. If we don't identify our things that are happening in our bodies, then we can't do anything. We can't do anything. We just sit in it and we just feel horrible. It's not a good feeling. It's really not. It's very nervous. It's high stress level, high anxiety level, and if you don't identify with your body and your emotions, you can't change your emotions. Okay, and that's number two. And number three is, remember when I talked about the fear, the fears, the anger, the pain. Knowing these are all emotions that I'm talking about. When I say emotions, that's a feeling that we have, right? Those are the things that we feel that's at the surface level, or sometimes, most of the time, the big stuff is under the surface. You just see what's there on the surface level. That causes the fear, that causes the anxiety and the stress. Usually when it's within that fear, right? Usually when it's in that anger, when it's in that, when it feels attacked, when you feel like you are being attacked in some way, that will trigger the stress level. That will trigger the anxiety. So knowing these emotions are very important because they're really at the top. And in my class, I did say that I talk about these emotions a lot because these top things right here, that fear and that pain, that hurt that you feel, that sadness that we feel, a lot of that stuff does trigger our anxiety. So we have to make sure that we identify with those emotions to know what's causing it. And it obviously there's a couple things that we need to do beforehand, and there's a couple things that we need to do after. I'm just making sure I give you guys some generalized information that's going to help you. So number one, obviously, is to accept responsibility. Number two is to identify your body, what's going on with your body. And then we'll go into number three. Number three is our desires. And that's the last one. Our desires, this is something I want you to know. Our desires sometimes trigger our anxiety. Our desires sometimes trigger our emotions. And you may say, like, what does that even mean? Because if you desire something, you want it, right? You feel like you need it. You feel like that's a part of you because you desire it. That means that there is something that you feel like you need. Now, here's the thing is why I said our desires sometimes trigger our anxiety and trigger our stress, is because when that's compromised, and that goes to the list of things that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. If that's being compromised, if our desire is being compromised, and what I mean is compromised is that something or someone is being taken away. So if you want something and you're not getting it, your brain is perceiving it as being deprived. Your brain is perceiving it as being deprived, so it thinks that you're supposed to have it. It thinks that you're supposed to have it, but you don't get it, and that puts you in a higher stress level, because here your brain is saying, knock, knock, knock. Hey, you were supposed to finish that assignment today. Knock, knock, knock. Hey, you were supposed to finish that college degree last month. Knock, knock, knock. Hey, you were supposed to do all these things on your list today, but you didn't. So your brain starts to perceive that, and what it does is that your brain will start to manifest these thoughts as if you should have done it. You should do these type of things. I'm not telling you to neglect any of your responsibility, but what I'm saying is that we need to take time to see if those desires that we are trying to achieve or the things that we feel like we need to make sure that if our brain is starting to perceive it as something that you didn't have, such as a lack, we need to make sure to see if this is something that is being labeled as a threat to you. Because sometimes our brain can tell us that we need to do something, but we really don't need to do it at that time. And you may see people that have OCD and people that feel like, I need to get all this done at this time. I need to do all this. People that are functioning at this high stress level. Sometimes our brain, sorry about that. Sometimes our brain is telling us that we need to do things right away, and when we don't do it, it makes us feel like we are a failure. I don't want you to feel like that. So take time to think about what it is that I desire and if I really need to do it. Because if I feel like I need to do everything, then I feel like something is being compromised, meaning that I'm not doing something, or someone is being taken away, and that could trigger the anxiety and the stress level if we function like that, if our brain is continuously functioning like that, particularly around people that have children, or maybe a caretaker in some way. Sometimes we feel like we need to hold on, that's the Amber Alert. Hold on, it's over there. All right, so that's something that I want you guys to know about. And here's one takeaway. I want you to think about, is that the sooner you discover your triggers, you can then see if it's a threat or not. So the sooner you discover your trigger, you can then see if it's a threat or not a threat. Because sometimes we live on this high stress level when sometimes we don't need to be. Our brain is just perceiving it as if we need to do that right away, or I feel like something is being taken away from me when I can actually live without it. And you know, stress does cause the anxiety, but what causes the stress is what our emotional triggers are. And usually behind the emotional triggers is usually the stories that we tell, and then the beliefs and the values and all that stuff that we do have. I want you guys to really take time to think about what I'm saying, because I really do care genuinely for you and I want to help you. So just take into consideration of the things that I'm saying. If you have not yet signed up for that level of communication program, please make sure that you do, so then you can get some really good information. It's a deep dive program. We go over a lot of stuff, and I want you guys to take full advantage of the things that I have offered. Obviously, you know, me doing private coaching, there's just my capacity there, but that program is me directly live with you, giving you the real with the love, and having bad table manners. Keep in mind that the uncomfortable is the new comfortable. This is Adyashere. Y'all take care and be blessed.